Why should golfers hit driver more often? And should they do a fairway finder, a full driver, or is it just one shot all the time?
With the driver specifically, it is one shot all the time. And again, I've decided to die on this hill however many years ago. And at this point, I think the people that I'm arguing with, they're the ones now deciding to die on this hill on the contrarian side. Because the one thing that I finally realized 2 years ago when Scotty Scheffler was playing in the Masters, they asked him, why don't you hit driver on 10? And he said, well, I mean, my driver's fit for a fade. So when I try to turn it over, it's just a mid, teens, 15, 1600 RPM spin rate knuckleball. And I was like, I'd never really thought about explaining it that way. Personally, I've known that just shaping it one direction allows you to eliminate double crosses, which are basically the biggest problem in golf is when you don't shape the ball the direction you want. But once Scotty said that, I was like, there's really the answer. And it's probably an answer as to why there are so many more double crosses because the driver's the only club in the bag that you fit for a specific shape. It's not like in a driver fitting, you're doing the 9 box drill, hitting all the different trajectories and shapes. You're just hitting your shot in a simulator. And so if you happen to hit a fade, then again, I'm just making up numbers here, but like for me, a perfect shot is about 2200 RPM, 14-degree launch, 168 ball speed type thing. If I try to turn that driver over, it's just going to be a knuckleball. The flip side is if I had the exact same launch conditions and was hitting a draw, when I try to fade it, it would just be kind of a spinny flare. And so then you talk about like your teed down fairway finder. That's maybe okay-ish as long as you're shaping it the same direction. Personally, I'm just a big fan of if it's not a full driver, then just hit your next club down. It's fit for whatever it is you're trying to do. Because again, I hate saying it constantly on every single podcast that I'm on, but I really drive the golf ball well. And finally, actually, I did a video with Garrett from Good Good where I had him out to play in our one-day member guest at my home course. And we filmed it. So now I can finally actually show people, hey, I'm not kidding. I drove this thing on a string the entire day. I hit every single green and shot 65. And it was obviously great to have that on film as a person who talks about playing golf for a living. But he's just by the end of it, he's like, dude, you just do the same thing every single time. And again, I'm really like for about 2 months now almost. I'm hitting it so good it's ridiculous. But once you are just good at doing one thing, it's just, I mean, again, I'm not gonna say it's all relative to your handicap and blah 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 blah. Other caveats, but once you're good at doing one thing, it's not that hard to keep doing it. It's when you're trying to move your path around relative to face and just all this stuff, you're just making it a lot harder than it needs to be. And then almost as important, like unless you're literally trying to become one of the I'll surrender. Okay, if you want to become one of the best players on the planet, maybe you need to be able to work your irons both directions. Maybe. I still don't even think that's true because DJ is a master at it. But like I'm playing to a +5 right now, and I haven't hit a single draw in, I mean, literally 10 years on purpose, or that didn't involve a tree. Like it can be done.
That's impressive on the 10 one decade without hitting a draw. I am curious though, what are you doing so well with driver? Because I know that is such an area for guys to improve. I know distance is key to, longer distances correlate to lower handicaps. What do you feel like you're doing or have developed? I mean, obviously you've hit endless golf balls over the years. You were a pro, you've had lessons, you've done all the things, but like, what do you think makes a good driver? Is it, the club? Is it a certain drill you do? Just playing one shot shape. I just love to just try and extract more because I feel like you've simplified driving and that's where so many guys struggle at.
I truly think it comes down. I mean, first of all, like again, I'm trying to be as honest about. I'm a pretty big athletic guy, so maybe I am a bit of a unicorn with it. Like, and it's not something everyone can do. I really don't know. I just, as the person we're talking about, like I have a hard time believing I'm a unicorn, but it's certainly possible. That being said, by just doing the same thing over and over and over again, it just becomes where it's just on autopilot. I mean, again, I really do believe that also. And so I've got, the spot 18 inches in front of the ball that I'm using. Like back in the day when I was really doing this, I would take an alignment rod or piece of string. Actually, that's something I got from Wyndham Clark, is taking just like string to where you can actually hit balls, like even irons. You set the ball down on the string. And so you're seeing that line. And then all I'm doing is I've got, alignment rod. I've got that string down. I'm just walking in. I'm a pretty traditional swinging guy. I'm squaring everything to my start line. And then I'm basically swinging on that with the face a little bit open to it, which basically just hits a little bleeding cut every single time. And again, more than anything, I just literally, I might hit a little toe draw, but I'm never going to snap hook it. Like it's just not even going to happen. And I'm so hexing myself for Champions Tour Q School coming up. But I mean, I just laugh at how much easier the game can be. Again, I'm 51 now, so my ball speed unfortunately is dropping almost on a exponential rate right now. But I'm still in the high 160s ball speed, and the ball just goes the direction I meant it to go every time. And so once you can do that, so I've got my body lines and all that, let's pretend there's just no wind. I've got my body lines set up right down the left side of the fairway, and I'll hit anything from a pull. I'll definitely pull it. It
Hmm.
just won't turn over. Anything from a pull to a 50-yard cut. And it's funny because, like, again, I just played in the pro scratch with my one of my assistants from Stonebriar this week, and I just had striped it for like the first 13 holes off the tee, and on 14, I hit kind of a flary looking floater, and the guy that I was playing with goes, "Oh, get down," and I was like, "That's fine," and his partner goes, "Get down, it's in the fairway." Like it was I mean, granted, it was a big fairway, but like it just all of a sudden it kind of catches you off guard, like, oh my God, that one finally looked bad. And it's like, yeah, but it went the direction I meant it to go. And so there's a lot of room to work with once you're again, I do firmly believe that once you're trying to alter the face to path relationship, you lose this feel for keeping the face on the target side of path, if that makes sense. So if my path, I'm making up numbers here, is 4 degrees left of the ultimate target,
Hmm.
and that's where my body lines and everything are. As long as I can keep the face on the target side of path, it's probably going to be a decent shot. I mean, it's not going to be a terrible shot. And golf is really more about your score is far more determined by the quality of your bad shots than the quality of your good shots. And so I just don't get it in trouble off the tee very often, which from there, once you're playing with kind of air quotes proper strategy, you're going to hit a ton of greens. And again, I really feel weird saying this because it's all tongue in cheek and relative to your ability. After that point, it's just not that hard. And again, it really is actually more to this paradox I used to talk about that golf is so hard that you have to play it correctly. And once you're playing it correctly, it's actually not that hard.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like your driver, I mean, as many swings as I've seen you do, and I think that's been a theme in all of them, is just your consistency. And I remember even in the decade program, you talked about how you used to walk through your routine. Didn't you wear a GoPro on your head and you kind of did that? I'm curious,
Yeah.
how do you pick targets? What are you someone that likes zones? Do you just pick one small target? Because I feel like that's a big part of it, right? Getting our mind ready for the shot. How do you pick targets?
Well, in my opinion, they have to be extraordinarily small and specific. Again, just vague. That's when people sometimes like, oh, I'm a field player. Like, well, you
Hmm.
still should pick a target. And I feel like zones is way too vague. And it gets back to the people talking about that sniper mentality of aim small, miss small. And I actually think that it's no aim small and understand you're going to miss big, especially in golf, and like being prepared for that. So yes, on approach shots, at this point I own decade strategy in my head. Like I kind of know where to be aiming shots. And picking a lip of a bunker, some spot in a tree. Like I had a couple shots this week where there was trees in the background and I was able to find a branch. I want you to find something for your actual target that just stands out to you, even if it's a yard or two away from the air quotes optimal target. I want you when you're walking in to just be able when you look up towards the target, I want your eyes just to see it immediately. I don't want you slowing down like,
Hmm.
where was I aiming this again? And
Yeah.
again, this gets back to what I talk about all the time with just block practicing on the range, which is just putting it on stick down and hitting at the exact same target all the way through the bag and just getting really good at that pre-shot routine and again looking up, going through your inner conversation and then just letting it go. I mean, that's again, I really do believe that if there's any one thing I've really harped on that I think is different in golf, it's this idea of expectation management. And just having realistic expectations is just vital to not imploding.